Greetings Ranger fans, Jake here for a deeper look at episode 3 of Power Rangers Dino Fury, Lost Signal. But first, a rapid run through. Let's kick off the counter. It's morphin' time! So we open on Zato and Dino Hench staring at a pendant his mother gave him before leaving Ravcon. Tragic flashback. He's called down to the base by Solon, who's picked up on a signal from his home galactic quadrant, but the modulator fries out before they can hear it, so Amelia suggests they go see a psychic. Really? Well, Ollie suggests they go to the observatory, so to be fair, they go to the psychic first. $15, please. Where Madame Indigo is telling Jane to blindfold herself to unleash her psychic power. Just watch out for Demogorgon. So she runs off with Jayborg to hunt Sporix, camcorder in hand, while Indigo tells Zato that his people totally miss him and are calling for him, and Ollie's like, And he asks about the future of him and Amelia and their totally real, non-made-up, long-term relationship, and Indigo totally ships them, and so they're all like, yeah, this is fake. Meanwhile, Jayborg saves Jane from walking into cement, but gets trapped instead and spots a hatching Sporix, and the blinded Jane gets put on a bus and was never seen again. So Jayborg drops her camera and calls the hotline, summoning the Rangers to fight the Sporix, Vipera, and Mika shows up but quickly nopes out as the Rangers show up and Vipera freezes Zato with her magic eyes. And then slashes him. Ouch. So Amelia and Ollie morph to fight her, but it's really hard to fight while dabbing, so she gets away with Mucus, who found Jayborg's camcorder and is like, idea. So the Rangers head to the observatory, picked up the signal, but couldn't decipher it, so Zato returns to the base while Amelia gets a call from Buzzblast, and they find out the feed's been hijacked by Mucus, and Vipera's all, look into my eyes. And freezes up the whole city, except for Solon, who's got cyborg eyes. And she wakes up Zato, who's having serious doubts about going alone after a day full of failures, but Solon's like, wait, can I see that blink? Because his pendant has the crystal she needs to fix the modulator, so doubt solved. So Zato grabs the Sonic Dino Key, pops up to the Buzzblast roof, uses sonar to fight Vipera, unmorphed and blindfolded, total daredevil, and frees the city so that the others can join him as Vipera grows, and they bust out their new Zords, which bust up the road to blind Vipera, weird plan, and destroy her with the new Dino Fury Megazord, nabbing her superpowered Sporix egg before Void Knight can grab it, then returning to the base and fixing the modulator so they can listen to the message, which is sadly gibberish, so Zato transmits his own message to Ravcon in hopes of finding his people. Roll credits. And that's the end of the episode. Now, let's take a deeper look. The third episode of almost any Power Rangers series tends to be a little less focused on introducing the story, and a little bit more focused on settling into the story engines that had been built up so far, using those engines to better flesh out the characters. About half the time, this means a Red Ranger focus episode, as is the case here. Which makes sense, as the Red Ranger tends to be the most well-marketed character of any Ranger team, and so their first focus episodes tend to be centered around their relationships to the team's mission. Carter, Wes, Cole, Connor, Jack, Casey, Brody, all of them deal with doubts in the third episode over whether they could either lead the team, commit to the team, or even be a part of the team. However, despite the commonality of this trope, Zato still manages to bring something new to the mix, as for the first time, he's not at all new to the role of leading a team. Even a veteran Red Ranger like Andros, who had years of experience, had never explicitly been the leader of a team until he recruited the rest of the Space Rangers. But Zato had led the original Power Rangers Dino Fury, giving him a whole wealth of experience that no prior Red Ranger has had before, including the experience of having lost a team. Even when you look back on Andros losing Zane, that was him failing a friend, not failing as the leader of a team. This places Zato in something of a unique position, as he's not dealing with doubts over his role in the team because he's never done it before, but instead because of the actual failures he's encountered in his past experiences of that role. This goes a long way towards empathizing with his character. While audiences are often on a journey of discovery with the heroes, Zato's veteran status shifts him over into a more expository role, often explaining things to others rather than having them explained to him. At least when it comes to Ranger stuff. As far as his relationship to the rest of the world, we'll come back to that. But because he doesn't serve as an audience surrogate, that means that empathizing with him needs to be that much more connected to other deeper emotions. Zato's personality right now could probably be best described as stoic, but it's not a cold stoicism, as he radiates a warm openness that perfectly fits with an alien capable of deciphering the personalities of others with a touch. He's also very honest and supportive to his less experienced teammates. However, as we see here, there are limits to this. He's perfectly open about his past, but less open about how he feels about it, which is what makes Solon such a vital character. There's a clear pressure on Zato to remain calm and level-headed, especially with how headstrong both of his new teammates have proven to be. And while he has demonstrated great skill as a mediator so far, that need to be a strong role model means that he can't indulge in his stronger emotions in the same way. Solon, on the other hand, serves as an old confidant and valued advisor, allowing Zato to actually express the serious doubts he has in his own abilities, which he wouldn't really be able to do with Amelia or Ollie without potentially undermining their new and delicate trust in him. By having a character that he can bounce these feelings off of, it allows him to grow and learn, even after being around for 65 million years, and that allows the audience to better empathize with him as a result. So it's important to recognize that character development isn't just about how any one character reacts to personal challenges, but how each character functions in their dynamics with one another. The dynamics between the three core Rangers has been slowly solidifying across the course of these first 3 episodes, as Ollie and Amelia's ideological clash from the premiere once again takes a brief spotlight in their now playfully antagonistic relationship here, taking turns pursuing both supernatural and scientific solutions to Zato's dilemma. They clearly both want to help, which is an important quality for a Power Ranger to have, but they also clearly have their own individual ways of doing so, as Amelia takes a more empathetic and sympathetic approach, while Ollie tackles things with cold hard logic. Although in this case we definitely got to see Ollie's more playful side with his whole honey muffin ploy with Madame Indigo, making for some very cute banter. Beyond that, it further defined Zato as someone who is still picking up on some of the more nuanced aspects of human interaction. It's something that borders on naivete, but not quite. Coming from a race of beings that can read minds, it makes sense that honest interaction would be his natural default. Plus, as an alien who has experienced countless fantastical adventures, his willingness to accept Amelia's more far-fetched beliefs is perfectly reasonable as well, as he doesn't have any real metric for differentiating between classical magic and modern-day fraud. Although that all brings me back to the $15 bit, which makes me wonder why the only one of the 3 Rangers who explicitly has a job is the one that then needs to borrow money. Anyway, the entire Madame Indigo sequence also ties in with our side characters, Jane and Jayborg. I spoke about Jayborg's introduction last week, and she still doesn't quite feel like a necessary character yet, especially since her role in this episode could functionally been filled by any one of the countless humans working at BuzzBlast, including Stan, who is featured both here and in the previous episode. Really, Jayborg acts more as an extension of Jane's character right now, with the robotic assistant just demonstrating the absurd lengths that Amelia's boss will go through to get her story. Although we still don't know exactly how far she went, because we never did see her get off that school bus. Also, for a robot, Jayborg is awfully prone to wildly exaggerated panicking here, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. However, what is nice here is how their bit of comedic relief is driven by clear goals that tie directly into the story of the episode, as not only is Jayborg the one who spots Vipera making use of the hotline introduced in Sporix Unleashed, but her dropping the camcorder is also what inspires Mucus's plan during the second half of the episode. By that same token, this episode also helped establish that despite Mucus being functionally useless in battle, she does have genuine skills that make her an effective villain in other ways, taking a monster that was already a major challenge in combat and providing her with the tools to basically disable the entire city. Overall, just an excellent merging of a cool monster ability with a clever villain plan, and that's just always great to see. Although the merging of Vipera's face with that section of the road was definitely on the weirder side. And yes, I know that whole sequence comes from the Sentai, and it was weird there too, but it arguably makes even less sense here, especially when juxtaposed against Zato's far more impressive unmorphed battle right before. Boost keys that can make things fly or automatically repair themselves are already pushing it as plot devices, but at least in Ryu's Soldier, the entire team came from a culture that centered around the use of these trinkets. So it made more sense that Asuna and Melto would come up with creative uses for them than it would for their newbie counterparts Amelia and Ollie. That use of the Sonic key, though, perfectly logical, excellently shot, and further displays Zato's mastery of the Dino keys. Plus, it provided a nice aesthetic echo to Jane's comedic blindfold sequence, even if the parallel was never directly acknowledged by the show itself. There were actually quite a few bits of nice setup like this, with it being mentioned early on that Solon was working on the Enkylo hammer and Tricera blade Zords before they were properly introduced, and of course, Zato's pendant from his mother ultimately being the key to eventually fixing the modulator to reveal the extraterrestrial message. But this does simultaneously highlight the pieces that aren't as well set up, like Amelia and Ollie's use of the boost keys, as well as the plot points that don't end up having a later payoff, like Jane's disappearance on the bus or the fruitless visit to the observatory. That being said, at the same time, as much as it might have been nice for every step in the journey to have some contribution to the final conclusion, not everything necessarily needs to pan out all the time, and that's kind of the point of the episode. Sometimes dead ends really are just dead ends. And sometimes the only thing that we learn from our failures is how to move past them, which the episode does a good job of conveying through the flashbacks to Zato's mother. And that's really the greatest strength of this episode, as Zato's quiet pathos keeps us invested in seeing him eventually triumph, even if it doesn't ultimately result in him finding what he's looking for. For the first time, our third episode Red Ranger focus isn't about him finding his place on the team, but rediscovering how to stand on his own. And considering the fact the message remains undeciphered and Zato's own message has now been broadcast to the universe, it feels like there's a good chance that he won't be feeling alone for very much longer. But that will have to wait for the future. So make sure to join me next time for a deeper look at Episode 4 of Power Rangers Dino Fury, New Recruits. And if you would like to share this week's rapid run-through, you can find it as a standalone clip at Morphin Legacy's YouTube channel. Please like, share, subscribe to us both, ring the bell for future notifications, and until next time, farewell Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.